Sarajevo. The wrong turn. On June 28, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand arrives in Sarajevo with his wife, Sophie, Duchess of Hohenberg. He is the heir to Austria-Hungary, and his visit is meant to look calm and routine after military exercises nearby. The streets are lined with spectators, flags, and curiosity. Mixed into the crowd are young conspirators who see the couple as a symbol of control they want to break. The motorcade follows the river. A first attacker hesitates and lets the cars pass. Then Nedeljko Chabrinovic throws a bomb. It bounces off the Archduke's car and detonates behind it, shredding the vehicle that follows and injuring people on the road. Franz Ferdinand refuses to stop. He goes to the city hall anyway, and officials try to continue the ceremony as if nothing happened. After the speeches, Franz Ferdinand insists on visiting the wounded in the hospital. That decision sets up the moment that changes history. The route is altered, but the message does not reach everyone in time. The driver turns into the wrong street and slows to correct the mistake. The car pauses, almost trapped between the curb and a crowd that is leaning in. A few steps away stands Gavrilo Princip. He has failed earlier and he is still there when the car stops in front of him. He walks forward, raises his pistol, and fires at close range. Within minutes, Franz Ferdinand and Sophie are dying. And then the killing spreads into paperwork. Telegrams fly between capitals. Advisors talk about honor, credibility, and deterrence. Austria-Hungary prepares a punishment of Serbia. Germany signals support. What began as a local attack becomes a political chain reaction. Within weeks, ultimatums, mobilizations, and alliances pull Europe into a war that will reshape the 20th century. Mobilization, when timetables decide. On July 23, 1914, Austria-Hungary delivers an ultimatum to Serbia. The language is harsh and the deadline is short. In the capitals of Europe, leaders still believe they can control the crisis with diplomacy, but their militaries are already thinking in schedules, rail lines, and mobilization tables. In the years before the war, the great powers build plans that assume speed is everything. Trains must arrive on exact days. Units must load at specific stations. Horses, shells, food, and medical wagons must move in an order that cannot easily be rewound. Staff officers can start the machine. They cannot easily pause it. In St. Petersburg, Russia's leaders fear abandoning Serbia. In Berlin, Germany's leaders fear being caught between Russia and France. On July 30, 1914, Russia orders general mobilization. Germany answers with its own mobilization and declares war on Russia on August 1st. 2 days later, Germany declares war on France. On August 4th, German troops cross into Belgium, and Britain declares war the same day. The result is a strange kind of violence before the first great battle even begins. Posters go up. Church bells ring. Crowds cheer at train stations. Behind the cheering is a cold machine. Telegraph wires carry orders. Clerks stamp papers. Conductors check lists. Once the timetables start running, politics begins to follow them. The war does not begin with one shot. It begins when Europe decides it cannot stop the trains. Marne River. The plan breaks. The ground freezes. On August 2, 1914, German armies begin their drive west, convinced the war must be decided quickly. The guiding idea is simple. Smash France first, then turn east before Russia can fully deploy. To do it, German forces push through Belgium, betting that speed will outrun outrage. The advance is fast and terrifying. Villages see columns of infantry, artillery, and wagons rolling day and night. Refugees clog roads. Bridges are seized. Rail hubs become prizes. By early September, Paris feels close enough to hear the distant thunder. Then the momentum starts to fracture. Supply lines stretch. Units lose alignment. On September 6, 1914, Joseph Joffre orders a counterattack along the Marne. It is not a single heroic charge. It is a coordinated shove on a wide front, with armies trying to hit exposed flanks and force a retreat. Near Paris, a small detail becomes a powerful image. Taxis are used to rush reinforcements toward the front. The numbers are not decisive, but the symbolism is. A city mobilizes itself to keep from falling. Within days, the German advance stalls and pulls back. Both sides try to outflank each other to the north in what becomes the race to the sea. When that fails, the war changes shape. Soldiers dig in for protection. First shallow holes, then deep lines with dugouts and firing steps. Barbed wire spreads across the gaps. Machine guns lock down open ground. The Western Front stops moving and starts grinding. The quick victory plan collapses, and a long war of endurance takes its place. Ypres, the green cloud. On April 22, 1915, the wind turns over the line near Ypres. On the German side, soldiers open valves on thousands of cylinders and release chlorine gas. At first, it looks like an odd fog rolling across no man's land. Then it pours into the Allied trenches, and into every low spot where air cannot escape. Men cough and choke, eyes burn, lungs seize, some run, some freeze, some claw at their throats. The gas does not kill like a bullet. It spreads, it lingers, and it turns breathing into panic. A gap opens in the line as units retreat, not because they are cowardly, but because the air itself has become a weapon. The attack shocks the world, but it also teaches a brutal lesson. The first response is improvisation. Soldiers press wet cloth to their faces. Officers shout for order. Soon, masks appear, first crude, then more advanced. Gas alarms become part of daily life. The front gains a new ritual, a shout, a bell, or a rattle. Then everyone reaches for a mask like it is another organ. Chemical warfare does not win the war on its own, but it changes the experience of the war. It adds fear to every change in wind. It forces armies to build new equipment, new drills, and new medical systems. And it becomes one of the clearest symbols of the First World War's modern brutality. Not just killing the enemy, but engineering terror into the environment. Verdun, a battle designed to bleed. On February 21, 1916, German artillery opens fire on the French positions around Verdun. The bombardment is vast. Shells fall for hours, then days, turning forests into splinters and hills into craters. Erich von Falkenhayn believes he has found a method. He will force France to defend a place it cannot abandon, and he will bleed the French army white. Verdun becomes a name that feels like a sentence. Fort Douaumont falls early, and panic ripples through French lines. France responds by sending Philippe Pétain, who focuses on keeping the defense supplied and rotating units so no one formation is destroyed in place. One road becomes legendary. Voie Sacrée carries trucks, ammunition, food, and men in a constant stream. The fighting is close, relentless, and exhausting. Attacks capture a ridge or a fort, then lose it, then take it again. Artillery dominates everything. Soldiers learn the sound of incoming shells the way sailors learn weather. The phrase, "they shall not pass," spreads through the French defense, not as poetry, but as instruction. The battle lasts into December. By the end, both sides have suffered enormous casualties, and the front line has moved only a little. Verdun shows a defining logic of the war. Strategy becomes arithmetic. Not territory, but losses. Not maneuver, but endurance. It is not one dramatic moment. It is months of pressure, where survival depends on supply, rotation, and sheer stamina. Cambrai? Steel breaks the wire. On November 20th, 1917, British forces attack near Cambrai in northern France. The plan is built around surprise, and it is led by Julian Byng. Instead of a long warning bombardment, the attackers rely on new tactics and a new machine. Tanks move forward in large numbers, aiming to crush barbed wire and cross trenches that would normally stop infantry. At first, it works. The sight is startling. Metal vehicles crawl through mist, engines rattling, tracks chewing the earth. Behind them, infantry advances in the gaps the tanks create. Artillery fire is coordinated to hit key points rather than flatten everything in advance. The line bends, then breaks in places. For a moment, it looks like the trench war has finally found its answer, but the answer is not complete. Tanks are still fragile. Many break down, bog in soft ground, or become targets for artillery once they are spotted. Communication is difficult. The advance outruns supply and organization. Defenders regroup and launch counterattacks with stormtrooper tactics, hitting weak points and isolating pockets. Cambrai ends without a decisive victory, but it matters because it reveals a future shape. Combined arms, tanks, infantry, artillery, and timing working together can create movement again. It is a glimpse of how the deadlock might be solved, even if the solution will not fully arrive until later. U-boats and blockade, starving the war. On May 7, 1915, a German submarine torpedoes the British liner Lusitania off the coast of Ireland. The ship sinks fast, and the deaths include civilians from several countries, including the United States. The sinking becomes a symbol of a new kind of war, not just armies fighting armies, but nations trying to cut each other's lifelines. Britain uses its navy to blockade Germany, restricting food and raw materials. Germany answers with submarines, aiming to sink shipping faster than Britain can replace it. The ocean becomes a hunting ground. A periscope rises, a silhouette appears, then a strike, often without warning. On February 1, 1917, Germany resumes unrestricted submarine warfare, betting that it can starve Britain into submission before American power can arrive in force. In January of 1917, A German message to Mexico is intercepted, promising support if Mexico fights the United States. American opinion hardens. Merchant crews sail with fear as a constant companion. Convoys are introduced, grouping ships under escort to reduce losses. The submarine campaign does not win Germany the war, but it helps pull the United States into it. On April 6, 1917, the United States declares war on Germany. The conflict expands again, not only in trenches but across oceans, budgets, and factories. The First World War becomes global in a way that is impossible to ignore.